Go. Hi, Maria. My name's Karen Edwards, and I'm a storyteller from the Glens of Antrim. I'm sitting out here at the minute on an island called Owey, Owey. It's off the west coast of Donegal, and it's a magical place. It's only about 5 minutes crossing in the boat from the mainland, but there's times when you wouldn't cross that sea for all the tea in China because it can be really rough. In fact, you can get stormed in here for 2 or 3 weeks, so it's quite a good place to self-isolate. But I'm going to tell you the story of how we came to be here. Owey in the Gaelic is Uí, and it means caves. And this island has magical caves. There are high cliffs all around that look over the sea towards Darren. And if you go into those caves in the boat, you can often see the seals diving off the ledges, or you can see dolphins swimming past. We saw two this morning, believe it or not. I first came here in the 1980s. At the time, I was living in a two-story flat on the Ormer Road in Belfast, and I can tell you those times were rough in Belfast. You took every opportunity to get out when you could. So Sid, who was my fiance at the time, had a friend, Tom Cowan, and Tom invited us down to the island for the weekend. He had the only house that was habitable on the island at that time. Originally, there were maybe 30 families here who lived from the 1800s, and they made their living by fishing. And it was a hard life, but a good life. They had plenty to eat, they were healthy and happy, and those people lived here until the 1970s when the government closed the schoolhouse down. And now there's just a ruin where the schoolhouse stood, but we have a project going to try and restore it. Well, when I came, the houses were all still intact. People had left, but they had left everything just as if they were going to step back over the threshold any day. Their curtains were hanging up, their crockery was on the dresser, their cutlery was in the drawers, and you could look in and you would imagine that just they'd gone on holiday. But they hadn't, and sadly the houses were falling into disrepair because the islanders didn't come back. I said to Sid, I said, I've never wanted to buy a house, but if I ever did, I'd love to buy one of these houses and restore it because it was so sad to see them just falling into disrepair. And at the time, I was a journalist and I thought it would be a magical place to come and write. So when we got back to Belfast, I wrote to the owner of the post office house. For Sid had said it was the best house on the island. The roof was still sound. It needed the windows replaced, the doors replaced, and maybe a floor. But he was a joiner, so that was no problem. So we wrote to Andy Ban McGonigal, White Andy as he was called, and asked him would he consider selling the house. We heard nothing back. We forgot all about it. We were saving up to get married, and the wedding took place on the 1st of May. And then a few weeks after the wedding, I went downstairs on a Saturday morning to get the post in the flat in Belfast. And there were two letters. There was a brown one from HMRC, and I thought, I'm not opening that, that'll be a bill. And there was a white one with a handwritten address on it. So I opened that one first. It was a letter from Andy McGonigal to say he would sell the house in Owey to the first person who came with 2,000 punts. Well, that was nothing for a house, as you can imagine. And I thought I was ecstatic, but then I thought, where am I going to get 2,000 punts? We were just married, with hardly a penny to rub between us. So then I opened the brown envelope, and it was a tax rebate from HMRC for 1,600 sterling. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. With the exchange rate at the time, it just translated almost to the penny. It was fate had meant this house to be for us. So we got straight into the car. We went down with a friend, Barry Maxwell, and we went down to see Andy. We borrowed a boat. We came over to the island. He walked all around the garden and said he wasn't selling the land, just the house and the garden. And we said, that'll do us fine. On the way back from the island, I stopped off to have a swim at a place called the Wishing Bridge on Critch. It's a beautiful place for swimming, a place I still go today. And then that night we went into Iggy's pub in Kincashlet to have a few pints to celebrate. We were sitting at the bar and I looked down and my mother's wedding ring was missing that she'd given to me. Oh God, I was distraught. Please, please, can we go back and look where I changed? And we went back, we searched the grass, the sand, everywhere. No sign of the wedding ring. And the next morning, please, can we go back one more time? And we went back. And Barry, who sadly is no longer with us, he was standing on the bridge and he looked down and he said, there it is. And it was in a clump of seaweed that the tide had been over 3 times in and out. And that, couldn't believe it. There it was. It was shining in the sun and I got it back. And that's the ring I'm still wearing to this day. So fate had intervened twice over. And we were so happy to get that house. We've been coming here for 30 years. In the summer, when our three sons were young, Sid used to bring them down, and they lived the life of proper children, climbing the rocks. There's no electricity here, you see. People just keely around the houses. There's never been a television. We just tell stories, we sing songs, we're out in the air all day doing stuff. Like yesterday, I had ordered 10 bags of coal, and it was the big bags I'd ordered by mistake, and they delivered them over to the flip on the far side. Oh God, every bag had to be put into the dinghy, towed across, lifted out, put on the quad, carried up, and we're still trying to figure out where to put it. There's so much coal, but we've got enough here to last us 6 months. If we get stuck here because of coronavirus, we'll be absolutely fine. And I just love it. It's like going back to the old ways where you break bread, you have the kettle on the stove, and it's just a magical, magical place. That's my story of Uy Island and how I came to be here. Thank you.